Big Sales! Afternoon to all. Always packed in sports. Always. One of the coolest things on the planet I do is get the ability to talk to you each and every single day. So we appreciate all that come aboard and all that check us out throughout the day. We appreciate that. Next 3 hours, sit back, whatever you're doing. Watch us, your phone, your television, YouTube on your computer, tablet, desktop. We so appreciate you guys coming aboard. You know, I guess I should take this as a merit badge. And I will. So, you guys have a lot of great publications and media outlets in Philadelphia. You do. You have a lot of great ones. And you know what? I kick them around a little bit. Your sports station, especially WIP, is a legendary sports station. It's arguably the greatest sports station in the country. There's really only 3 of them. The rest of them are all mediocre. It's WIP, it's WFAN, and then it's the Sports Hub in Boston. The rest of them really suck, okay? Those are the 3 greatest sports stations in the country. The rest of them are just filler because sports radio is no longer what it used to be because you can't really say anything you want. So in the city of Philadelphia, you have a lot of great avenues so that you can go and follow your favorite sports team. So you got one, and I just started learning about it, I think a year ago. It's called Crossing Broad. I don't know. Everybody nowadays is starting up their own network, and kudos to you. By the way, I think it's great. I think it's great. I don't know who they are. I'm kind of learning who they are. They've made like a small footprint in Philadelphia. It's all good. Really, it's all good. So, of course, one of the guys there starts going after me and saying that Sileo and some of the people probably at WIP will be screaming for Matt Araiza to be signed by the Philadelphia Eagles. He's innocent. Why shouldn't he be? Prosecutors have cleared him. They vindicated him. Just because the perception out there is that you want to castrate this guy because it's on Twitter, it's real. Here's another great example of picking and choosing because it went on Twitter, even though the guy's vindicated. It doesn't matter to certain media people. His name was involved in a rape case. So do you actually think prosecutors in California are going to clear a guy in a rape case that's involving an underage woman? Do you really think that? They're going to vindicate a guy? Or do you think they would use him as a political vehicle? Look, we brought this guy down. He was highly sought. He was a consensus All-American at San Diego State. He's been vindicated. He's been vindicated. And he goes, someone will post. The Eagles should sign him. He's innocent. They should sign him. His name's been cleared. He had nothing to do with it. Brady Hoke was right in the end. Hey, if anything, I owe Brady Hoke an apology. And I jumped the gun. J.D. Wicker, the athletic director, all those guys I said should lose their jobs. Dude, I owe you guys an apology. I apologize. Prosecutors vindicated him. You guys were right to play him. No wonder he played. No wonder he made All-American. Shit, I think the Bills should bring him back in. What's the problem? He's been vindicated. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't play one on a social media platform or on my show here. All I do is follow the facts. Now, something could pop up in a couple months where they found more video. Oh, but as of right now, May 10th, Matt Araiza's been vindicated. He's innocent. He's an innocent guy. According to lawyers, people who put people in prison for raping girls, teenagers, have vindicated him. Shouldn't he have his career back or the ability to get his career going again? Why are you such a woke snowflake, some of you? Just because it's on Twitter doesn't mean it's true. I brought a story up the other day to you about Glenn Kuiper. Glenn Kuiper's going to keep his job, and he dropped the N-word to open a broadcast for the Oakland A's. Bob Huggins was fined $1 million and suspended for being insensitive towards the gay community. He's going to keep his job. Why over these years have you prosecuted me for making a mistake? You know why? It's the media people. It's not you, the fans. It's not you. This has been one of the greatest exercises. You call me a racist for something I did 10 years ago. And yet these guys are getting hall passes for actually doing the same thing I did, make a mistake. But you chose to go after me. Matt Ariz is innocent. He wasn't involved. But our political landscape picks and chooses people to attack. So this guy, I guess this thing crossing broad, doesn't think this guy should be brought in. Why? He's an innocent man. He could help the Eagles. Shouldn't he have the opportunity to get his life turned around because of what people, including myself, thought were facts? Dog, he's innocent. You're not the judge and jury of a man. And I personally think the Eagles have the greatest locker room to handle this. If you brought Matt Ariz in, you win the Super Bowl. He's a Super Bowl difference-making player. He's innocent. Don't let the media or public misinformation guide you in this. Get this. Jalen Carter did more that involved in two people dying than what Matt Ariz did. One has a career, one can't get it going because of media perception. I have no problem bringing him in as long as he's innocent. You crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. I believe in justice. Justice for all. This guy should be brought in, had a conversation. I hope there's a team out there with the onions to sign him because he deserves his career. He doesn't deserve media people destroying it with misinformation. Aren't you tired of, hey, seriously, man, I know many of you come here, and I'm not making a political issue of this, but in a way, kind of, it's a tie-in. Aren't you sick and tired of people telling you lies every day? Aren't you sick of that? Aren't you sick of people being smeared every day unjustly? Aren't you tired? What happened to our country with that? Aren't you tired of that? The media has no bearing, really, on what this guy did or didn't do. Prosecutors do. Dude, don't you believe in justice? Or do you think justice is really social media? Boy, social media, man, has changed the way we think of justice in this country. Matt Ariz deserves an opportunity to play professional football in the National Football League. The Bills were raving of, he was kicking like 60 some odd yarders in the exhibition season. People couldn't believe what they were watching. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this guy is, the Bills have a weapon. Ray Guy was one of the greatest weapons in pro football history. So imagine this. You got a drive going, and you're the Eagles. All of a sudden, you have a 3 and out. You're playing against the Chiefs. And it's a nip and tuck game going back and forth. You're pinned on the 5-yard line. This guy pins one back on the 10-yard line, on the Chiefs' 10-yard line, puts that team back on the 10, and they got to drive 90 yards with a minute left. You think that is beneficial to the Eagles' opportunity to win a Super Bowl? Man, I sure do. Especially when you got a suck-ass kicker now. Your special teams is in ruin. This guy could change your entire unit if you signed him. But because you've got certain guys that ask questions to Jalen Carter, hey, I didn't really feel that you thought that you were sorry enough in what happened to those folks that were in your Georgia program. You got an asshole like that that's sitting there making comments at a player who's at the greatest moment of his life. Look, I'll take that back. He's not but that was an asshole question. That's an over-the-line question. It's a setup. It's a setup question. Okay? Look at Joe here. We all know you're a MAGA guy, so good for you. Now stick to sports, please. Oh, so shut up and dribble, right, Joe? What a racist comment. Shut up and dribble, right, Joe? Is that right? Shut up and dribble. I'm a MAGA guy? No, I'm an American. I don't root for anybody, dude. I root for America. I told you that. I don't give a shit who's in the White House. I root for America. Get that right. I root for the red, white, and blue. You know why? Because Republicans and Democrats fight for this country in the military. It's not just Republicans fighting for this country and to protect us and our rights. It's Republicans and Democrats and independents. Atheists, Catholics, Jews, Baptists, whomever. That's who I root for. Don't ever label me because you can't. Here we go. Awesome win last night for the Sixers. They beat Boston by 12. Am I right when I say this? James Harden has looked more like the MVP than Joel Embiid. Embiid played great last night. But James Harden against this Celtic team, this guy's actually won 2 ball games for the Sixers. Those 40-point games, he single-handedly won them himself. This has got to be one of the greatest exhibitions of postseason ball that James Harden has played in his entire career. This has to be one of the shining moments in his career. Embiid was great. Boston was, they went into Boston and beat them in the Garden. I don't know. That's pretty impressive. Hey, Will Jameson, it's about time he is the MVP. Harden's won 2 ball games. Harden's looked like the MVP in this series. And I mean the NBA MVP. He's played great. He's played great. Absolutely. Just played fantastic. Okay? It's been fantastic. Kudos to the Sixers. Hey, you still think Doc sucks? I'll tell you one thing that's different with Doc that I see. You may be able to tell me something different here. Has he shortened his bench? You know, one of the biggest criticisms that Doc has always had in the postseason is that he lengthens his bench. But it looks like to me he shortened it. And in shortening his bench, he's going to his go-to guys more. And he looks like he is having a hell of a time, and I mean a good way, where his rotations are fantastic. Dude, this guy has been point on. I mean, all of his substitutions, what he's doing with his players, Doc is really having a Boston-type postseason run when he won the title up there with Garnett and them dudes. I think Doc has shortened his bench. I think he's done a hell of a job. To me, again, I don't think he's changed in any way. I just think Doc I think Doc has done something that he rarely does. He always lengthens his bench, and people are always looking at his rotations and how deep he goes on the pine. It's always been a criticism. Rivers is doing a great job coaching this Sixer team. They're a game away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Another one for Doc Rivers. That's pretty impressive. By the way, who should ring the bell? Dr. J or Nick Foles? Who would you have ring the bell at the Wells Fargo Center? Okay? Who would you have ring the bell? What guy would you have ring the bell? Dr. J? Or would you have Nick Foles? Bring old Nicky Foles. Get Nick. Me too, Michael. I think I want Nick Foles to ring that bell. Just hit that bell, baby. Saint Nick. I'd like to see Nick Foles. I'd like to see Nick Foles actually in Eagle Green this year come 2023 and the start of the season. I'd love to see Foles, man. Just hit that bell, ring that bell. That'd be great, right? Sills, would you rather for the Eagles or the Niners today? The Eagles are better because of Hurts. Dr. J for the finals. Okay. Dr. J for the finals? I kind of like that. Oh, hey, wait a minute now. I got one more before we move on to the topic. One more. What game do you want in 2023 the Kelly Greens to be broken out? What game should the Kelly Greens be broken out? What game? What game would you want the Kelly Greens broken out? What game? Some pretty good ball games this year. What game did the Kelly Greens get broken out? Christmas Day? Cowboys? First Cowboys home game. Cowboys? I think Christmas is the Giants, right? The holiday game. The Giants? Niners. Man, I thought about this. What Eagle game in 2023 on the schedule would you want the Kelly Greens broken out for? Got to be the home Cowboy game. Got to be the home Cowboy game. And if they get to the NFC title game, you got to break them out again, man. You got to break them out again. Got to break them out again. The Super Bowl? When let's get regular season. I could see Miami. Nah, man. Christmas would be great, too. That Cowboy game, though. First primetime game? Dude, let's get the Kelly Greens. Dallas owned us most of the Kelly Green years. Choose another. The body bag games? Really? I want the Cowboy game, too. I thought about it. I was like, Chiefs? Jets? Bills? Cowboys. Yeah. Cowboy home game. Okay? Cowboy home game. Let's break them puppies out. Yeah, dude, I don't remember the Cowboys. I don't remember Jimmy and that rivalry owning Buddy. I think that stuff went back and forth. I don't remember that. Okay? I don't remember that. Black jerseys, man, you drop those bad puppies. You drop that bad puppy on the Christmas game. Drop that bad puppy. Drop them black. I love the black gear. I love the black helmet and the gear. Drop that thing on Christmas. Darth Vader comes running out of the tunnel. Here comes Darth Vader. Dude, greatest thing of all time is when we played at the Orange Bowl and the lights would go out and you would hear the battle march from Star Wars. Dun, 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 dun. Then the smoke would come and we'd run out of the tunnel. Dun, 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 dun. You'd see the team across from us going like this. Holy shit. Here come these hurricanes out of the smoke and the battle theme of the Star Wars. And here we come running out, and we're like, okay. Nothing like the OB. They would dim the lights. By the way, where do you think you got the smoke from? All these teams around the NFL and college football have smoke. Where do you think you got it from? And they were fire extinguishers back in the day. We didn't have smoke machines. The local Miami fire department would come down there with fire extinguishers and shoot them. We'd have all this yellow smoke on us or this yellow dust on us. We're running out of the tunnel, and they're firing fire extinguishers. Funny. Now you see everyone running out of the tunnel with smoke. All right. I'm going to expand on a topic now. By the way, please hit the like button. Guys have been great this week. I am going to expand on something because I did some homework on it. On the Kirby Smart football program that your Philadelphia Eagles have invested a lot of equity in. There's quite a few Georgia Bulldogs on your football team that you guys have really spent a lot of high draft picks on. Howie has basically invested in the Georgia Bulldog program. Has he not? He's invested in the Bulldog program. Oh, by the way, we did something yesterday with our NFL predictions. I have my 2023 Eagle predictions. We're going to do that too. Oh, my boy from the Last Word on Sports, Tony Siracusa, will join us in hour number 3. And I'm going to talk to him about the topic that I'm going to hit on right now. So I wrote a list down of these names. In 7 years at Georgia, Kirby Smart has had 55 Georgia Bulldog players drafted. There are 32 Georgia Bulldog players currently on NFL rosters. Not all of them are with Kirby because Matthew Stafford didn't play with Kirby Smart. I think he played with Coach Rick, if I'm not mistaken. Currently on the Eagles, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. Not Goose, Siracusa. Not Goose, Quan. God rest his soul. Here are the only players in those 7 years I came up with. Roquan Smith, DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb. The Walker kid looks like he's going to be decent. The Wyatt kid may be good. I don't know yet. Have the Eagles invested in a program that produces NFL stars? Ringo too. Thank you. Ringo too. Under Kirby, absolutely Ringo. And see, by the way, I'm not making an assessment on any of those players on the Eagles right now because, quite frankly, I don't know whether they're going to be superstars or whether they're just going to be good ball players. I don't know that yet. So I'm keeping them kind of out of the mix, like I'm keeping the guy from Jacksonville and the guy from Green Bay out of the conversation. I don't know yet. Okay? Outside of Roquan Smith, Kirby Smart has not produced a superstar NFL player in 7 years. Why am I to believe Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are going to be superstars? Or Nakobe Dean, for that matter? Or Nolan Smith? Why am I to believe that? Why are we to believe that? He's had 7 years. There's not an Aaron Donald in the NFL from Georgia. There's not an elite guy in 7 years from Georgia that he's coached. Have they invested too much and given too much faith to this program because it's a great college program. And I'll give you an example of this. How many times did Bob Knight win the national title? What was it, 3? See, 76, I think 81, and 86 against Syracuse. How many NBA All-Stars and Hall of Famers did he develop for the NBA? Outside of Isaiah Thomas, I can't think of one. Coach K, how many superstars has he developed from his time at Duke? And this guy won, I think, 5. Let's see. Kyrie Irving, kind of. Grant Hill. I don't think Elton Brand's a superstar. Christian Laettner wasn't. What superstars is Zion Williamson's not a superstar? Can't stay healthy. Tatum, I think he's a superstar. So Kyrie Irving, Tatum, Grant Hill, in 40 years of basketball. 3 guys. Knight, 1 guy, in 29 years at Indiana. Again, where I'm going here is, sometimes these college programs are not what they seem to be when it comes to producing people for the NFL or NBA. Brandon Ingram? Okay. That's not a superstar. Okay? Tatum's a superstar. Yes. So 3 guys in 40 years at Duke. I'm just saying here. And it was funny because Baldy yesterday goes, this Georgia program's a funny program. And this is one of the questions that I'm going to ask Tony in the last hour of the program. Maybe there's something to this. Because you know what? Every time I look at a Georgia defensive football player's statistic line, I don't see production. They make impact plays. They're phenomenal. Like I said yesterday, it's not an indictment so much on the players as it is more on the program. Are these guys great, talented players? Absolutely. You're at Georgia. You won 2 national titles. That dictates that. I completely This is a conversation here. Kirby Smart doesn't deserve. He doesn't deliver all-pro players. Why am I to believe Jalen Carter's going to be an all-pro player when he hasn't done it? And I mean Kirby Smart hasn't done it. He doesn't put transcendent players in the league. He actually never has. But we're to believe here because they went to Georgia? Baldy was onto something yesterday. He's onto something. The Georgia players are out of shape. You drafted 2 in a row. The number one issue with both those players is conditioning. Okay? They rotate a ton of guys. And when they get to the NFL, they're not prepped and ready. I've never seen a Georgia guy walk in on a football training camp and all of a sudden he's a star. Now the kid Pickens in Pittsburgh looks like he's a ball player. The kid Pickens looks like a ball player. I think they got him in the 2nd round a year ago. He looks like a ball player. How many colleges perennial put out superstars every season? Okay. But in 7 years, you haven't put out one, JM? I mean, Pittsburgh, I can go like this. Who was the wide receiver that played in Arizona for all them years? Who was the wideout that was down there? And I'll show you something with Pittsburgh here over the last 15 years. Who was the guy, Tone, that played down? Larry Fitzgerald. Darrell Revis. Aaron Donald. Curtis Martin. The kid Addison who transferred to Southern Cal. Let me put another school in there. Florida. Florida puts guys in the NFL. Alabama, they kind of put guys in the NFL. But you're telling me one guy, Nick Chubb, and Roquan Smith in 7 years. Okay, so my point, though, JM, superstar ball players. Are our expectations too high for these players coming out of Georgia? Do you think the expectations are too high? Big Sills, you were telling, hey, Joe, I think he has all the characteristics. Joe, this is not me talking, Joe. This is an observation. See, sometimes people don't listen. We're having a conversation here about the Georgia program. Has anyone said that Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Nolan Smith and Nakobe Dean suck? Has anyone said that here? Where in the world did you get? I said they suck. I said they're not prepared to play in the NFL. You once again missed it, and you once again encompassed everything that because they're not in shape and NFL ready, Sileo must think they suck. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. By the way, I think Ohio State puts guys in the league. I think Ohio State probably right now, look at all the stars they have in the league. Ohio State does a nice job. Dude, Ohio State is a wide receiving factory. It's a wide receiving factory. Didn't Jameson Williams, didn't he start his career at Ohio State and transfer to Bama? Not QBs. Agreed. I brought that up. All I'm saying to you is they're just not in shape. They're not NFL ready. They're just not NFL ready. Roquan Smith's the only defensive guy in 7 years that Kirby Smart. I wrote down a list. 55 guys have been drafted. And one guy is an all-pro dude. Is that a good number? And the Eagles have dipped in with pretty high picks. 2 years in a row, you went back-to-back with 2 Georgia Bulldog first-round picks. What's the chances of those guys being stars when Kirby hasn't really produced stars? Again, I think the kid shows me that he's got a lot of Jerome Brown in him. I do. Just saying here, the numbers don't lie here. And the behavior of the players that they drafted in consecutive years doesn't lie. Best players at small schools play 99% of the snaps, and sometimes special teams at both O and D. What's that got to do with 2 guys being out of shape when they hit the NFL? So you're saying because the lesser guys play when they're killing teams, that your star players aren't in shape? That's, once again, that's what Tony and I were talking before we went on the air. That's an indictment on the program. Your frontline guys aren't ready? Joshua goes, I mean, they really have a chance to become superstars, yet at the NFL level, they'll have only had a rookie season from the national championship. Again, but Joshua, you're missing it. They're out of shape. What's that got to do with playing? You're out of shape. Who else from Georgia was out of shape besides Davis and Carter? No, Latin. My point is, who else from Georgia in 7 years has been a good ball player? And I mean an all-pro ball player that Kirby's put in the league. Name me one. Roquan Smith. Chubb. Okay? Good ball players. Really good. Who else? Will pro coaching help? So you think, D, that those coaches down at Georgia who make $2.5 million a year aren't preparing those kids for the NFL correctly? Or do you think it's a product of the way they use the kids? I think it's a product of the way they use the kids more so than the talent level at Georgia. I think they're getting great coaching. I think it's the way they use the players. They have so many gifted players. All of them play. There's not a chance in hell you have enough game reps when you get to the NFL. That's what makes it even more remarkable. And by the way, I made this point to you yesterday about, hey, I'm more optimistic about Jordan Davis getting better once he gets in shape than I was 48 hours ago after listening to Baldy. I'm more optimistic. Davis has already lost weight. Okay, congratulations. He's on Weight Watchers. Now let's see if he can play with it. Let's see if he can stay dedicated to it. Rock, he's never been asked to do it. Now he's being asked to do something he was never asked in 4 years of Georgia to do. Okay. Let's see if he can do it. Almost like there aren't being held to a high standard. Loki, that's kind of my takeaway too. Jesus, man. You mean to tell me you don't run your guys? Hey, what was some of the comments about Jalen Carter? Remember some of the coaches saying he didn't want to be in shape. He didn't want to practice hard. He didn't want to do any of that. And then when the fact that you get him in a combine situation, he can't get through the drills. Then you see Jordan Davis. Well, Jordan didn't have any of those kind of conversations, but yet he had the same characteristics of Jalen, out of shape. One was a kind of a character thing, and the other one was a non-character thing, but yet they were both out of shape. To me, that means more of a problem with Kirby. Hey, and you know what someone will fire back to me, a Bulldog fan would say? Bro, we've won 2 national titles. What the hell are you talking about? All I'm talking about is when I watch these guys prepare for the NFL, they're out of shape. They're not ready to play. And when asked to play 30 plays, they can't. That's all I'm saying. I never said they sucked. I never said they weren't good. I never said you're not winning ball games. All I'm saying is you use those players down there the way you see fit, and it is counter to what the NFL does. That's all I'm saying here. I mean, tell me I'm wrong here. Are my observations on point or not? Lazy and money? I don't think it's lazy. I think it's a program thing. I think it's how they keep guys at Georgia because of the I think it's a result of the transfer portal. You want to be honest about it? You got to make a lot of guys happy down there. Dude, if you're not rotating guys at Georgia and I'm a 5-star recruit and I'm not seeing playing time, dude, that thing about not promising playing time to players any longer, that's out the window. You've got to practice telling these players, if you come to Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, USC, Penn State, you got to practice playing time as a pitch to them. You know, back in the day, these kids were pinned at these programs. You can't do that anymore because the kid will leave. 11 goes, we'll see soon enough. Didn't you see it last year? Davis was out of shape. I mean, 11, what do you need to see? A guy couldn't get through the combines and the other guy was out of shape last year. What else did you need to see? I think the portal's got a lot to do with this. I don't care about the past players at Georgia, Carter, Smith, or Ballers. Kirby is learning how to recruit all pros. He hasn't had an all-pro. What all-pro? Roquan Smith? Okay. In 7 years, he's got one all-pro. What do you mean he's learning how to recruit all pros? Where? 55 guys went in the NFL draft. I haven't seen a superstar except for Smith and Chubb. The rest of them are decent NFL guys, good ball players. They're not all pros and transcendent guys at the top of their game and at the top of the league at their positions. That's not true. That is not true. What's All-American mean in the NFL? Nothing. Look at Kelly Green, who said they're out of shape. You're trolling. See this guy, Kelly Green? He doesn't think that Jordan Davis was out of shape last year or that Jalen Carter was out of shape at the combines. There's a guy right there that lives in denial. There's a guy that lives in denial right there. Prime example of it. Who said? Not me. Everyone else said it. The Inquirer said it. Your sports station said it. The NFL Network said it. Scouts said it. Not me. Trolling. Are they trolling too? They must be trolling too. Oh, I see. Yes, I looked at the snap count between Anderson and Carter, who are supposed to be the best players in the draft. Anderson had almost 900 snaps. Why isn't the Eagle coaching staff responsible months past before the regular season? Dude, that's player accountability. They got to be in shape. I don't care how many nutritionists you have. You got to get up off your fat ass and get out and run. Post-game at Georgia. I don't care, Loki. Whatever you see, whatever you want to think you saw last year with Davis and whatever people saw with Jalen Carter at the combines, have at it. Aren't the Eagles a good landing spot because they rotate? Great question. You're not as deep, though, this year as you were a year ago. Remember, you had Linval Joseph and Sue, Hargrave, and Fletcher Cox. Now you have Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Milton Williams. Is that enough? A lot less experience in that rotation. Out of shape is an understatement. Also, only correlation is that the Eagles keep their line fresh and rotate. That's not my point here. My point is that program has not produced a ton of all-pros and Pro Bowlers. Seals, you think the Cowboys will be any better with McCarthy calling plays? No. This is kind of radio gimmick. How is it not fact what I'm saying? How is this not fact? How is this not fact? So why is Howie picking all their players, Sills? Because they win. Because they win. You go to winning programs. Bob Knight won. Coach K won. Wasn't like they were putting superstars in the NBA and the NFL every year. That's my point. Some of these coaches have great programs and great college guys. And for the record, please don't tie in that I'm saying that Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith and N'Kobe and Ringo are not going to be great players. I'm just saying they're not ready like you think. Maybe there are too many expectations on what these guys will do their first year. Davis flopped his rookie year. He flopped in expectations. He was what I thought he was going to be, a good player. He was. I did like the pick, and I still do. I still like the pick. But people were talking 10 sacks. A game-changing play. He was not that. He did not live up to what they thought he was going to bring to the table. Okay? Father of Georgia lineman that died in a car crash is suing Georgia and Jalen Carter for $40 million. Sad situation all around. Sad situation all around. It really is. And, of course, they're going to go after Carter's money. Carter's innocent. He's been vindicated by the police and by the local district attorney. The guy, in my opinion, he's out looking for money and a payday. And I don't blame them. I understand it, especially when you had your heart broken because one of your loved ones is gone. I totally understand. I get it. But he's been vindicated, and prosecutors are not pressing charges against him. If prosecutors were pressing charges against Jalen Carter, I'd have a problem with it. Okay? Jalen Carter's got to live with this the rest of his life. And there was somebody in the program that I'm sure they all revered. RY goes, Carter pleaded no contest. So wait a minute, let me get this right. Just because you plead no contest and 2 people died doesn't mean that you don't think you're going to jail if you did something heinous and did something reckless. Just because you plead no contest doesn't mean you get a $10,000 fine and you get sent home. That's not guilty, in my opinion. Okay? Guilty is being behind bars in an orange jumpsuit with chains on your feet and hands. That's guilty. This is a civil matter now. And again, the Eagles knew this. I don't have a problem with Jalen Carter in that aspect whatsoever. 0. You can win a civil case. You sure can. The woke country we have today, and the people that want to give people and take away from people who earn things, absolutely you can win that. Are you kidding me? Shit, there's a better chance of Jalen Carter losing all of his money than his freedom, especially in today's America. There's definitely a better chance of that because people want to sit at home and not work. That's the best way to do it. And I'm not putting this family in that because they lost loved ones. But come on, man. Prosecutors cleared them. This goes back to the Matarizza thing. Dude, when you're cleared and you're not being prosecuted for something, okay? You're set on your way. You have your freedom. Why can't we live through that? Makes no sense to me. Okay? Jesus criminy. It's crazy how we look at shit today. Jalen Carter pleaded no contest, which means I'm not saying anything right or wrong here. All I'm saying is this is an awful scenario. And so the family wants to sue him civilly. Probably win some money on him. People always come after you for that. And quite frankly, maybe he should pay something. I don't know. I'm not a judge here. I don't judge Jalen Carter on that. It's between him and God. Not him, God, and me or you. Or the media. Or the guy asking the question in the Philly media. It's between him and God. Who has to answer that question? Okay? At the end of the day, that's who answers that. Carter's not innocent. Carter pleaded no contest. Florida law. Okay, Rye. You're right. They let a guy, according to Rye, they let a guy walk who killed 2 people. Okay. Hey, you must have got your law degree online. I'm all for liability, and right is right. The other individuals agreed to race. Done. Unfortunately, they didn't make it. Carter didn't fire him off the road or cause it. That's right. It's what the police said and what the district attorney said too. Okay? It's what the district... Hey, by the way, this isn't a take or anything. I'm just reading what the prosecutor said. Big Sills has never been on probation. Big Sills doesn't break the law. Big Sills doesn't throw his life into chaos like that. I've never been on probation in my entire life. That ain't happening. I don't put myself in shitty situations like that. It's not happening. Have I put myself in close situations? Yes. Okay, but I'm not doing any of that. That's not for Big Sills. So, again, the Eagles... The Eagles had to know that there was going to be some type of civil lawsuit against them. So did his attorneys. I'm sure Drew Rosenhaus has already been prepping for all this. And they probably had a media blitz. And by the way, Now it's the time to ask the question. If you're a Philadelphia media person, now you do ask the questions because now he's being sued civilly. Now it's a time to ask, hey, how do the Eagles and what's the Eagles' stance right now on Jalen Carter's civil lawsuit and the unfortunate situation that happened with him being involved in a race that caused 2 people to die? That's a fair question. And then you go off of what their answers are. I think it's fair. And Reyes goes, didn't you throw a dude out the window? I never said I didn't do anything crazy. I said I've never been on probation. You asked me if I was on probation. Okay? Sills, I mean, your take about God being the judge, not us. Thank you very much, Greg. Yeah, Jalen Carter's going to have to deal with God. Okay? You meant you weren't on probation, but should have been. Why is this on me? Hey, take this off me, man. It's got nothing to do with me. This has got nothing to do with me here, man. Hey, by the way, 2023 Philadelphia Eagle predictions. I'm going to do this at the top of the hour here, okay? I am. I'm going to do this at the top of the hour. Listen, I'm not telling you that these ball players from Georgia are not going to be good. This is more of a slam on the Georgia program. And I think it's also more about us with our expectations. Tone, don't you think we're looking at this like, hey, I'm expecting this guy to be better than Michael Parsons, Nolan Smith. We're expecting Jalen Carter to be Jerome Brown. We're expecting Jordan Davis to be the next Fletcher Cox. Might want to pump the brakes on this. And give these guys a little bit more time to get NFL. Hey, trust me. Trust me when I tell you, it ain't that easy going from a program like that to the NFL. 4123, in my opinion. Thank you so much, man. That's awesome of you. Carter did nothing wrong. The other guy was an adult, made choices, and suffered his terrible consequences. Adults need to be accountable for their own choices. How many men can say they never raced a car? I have. 4123. Of course you're going to attack Jalen Carter civilly. Of course you are. It's America. That's what we do in this country. We go after people with money instead of going after what's right. It's commonplace in our country. Okay? Okay, Joe. Joe, right wing, left wing, what's that mean? I really couldn't tell you the difference between right wing and left wing unless I was at Hooters. I have no idea what that means. I swear to you. You take me for more than what that means. Right wing, left wing, I don't even know what that means and what identifies with it. I swear on my kid, I have no idea what that means. Right wing, I'm assuming that that's extra crispy at Hooters, and the left wing is extra spicy. I have no idea what you're talking about because I don't care about shit like that. I don't. Chicken or turkey? Probably more. I would know that, D. It's Sill's eating the Purdy wing. Probably more that. Okay? I mean, I have no idea what that stuff means. When people go, hey, this left-wing guy or this right-wing guy, I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about. I have no idea. Because I don't care. Hey, I've raced before on the PA Turnpike. Everyone wants to play holier than thou, like they've never broken the law or did something like they shouldn't have. How many red lights have you gone through? Million? Right? This should be laughed at in comparison to the Deshaun Watson situation. I understand death was involved, but this was an honest mistake. Watson is a clown. Wait a minute. Umberto, NFL cleared him. He's innocent. Hey, Umberto, was there any charges pressed against Deshaun Watson? Criminally? Did he face any criminal charges? Was he ever put in handcuffs? Was he ever arrested? The answer to that is no. The answer to that is no. No criminal charges. They went after the money. They're going to go after Jalen Carter's money. Of course they are. Okay? Of course they are. You said Big Sills doesn't break the law. Oh, Joe. Joe, the holier than thou. Hey, Joe, you must write for the Crossing Broads dudes. Okay? I don't want a guy like Matt Ariza on my team because, we win Super Bowls here in Philadelphia with great people. And we want really super guys. I want football players, and you don't win championships with choir boys, dude. You don't. You don't win championships with choir boys. Hey, look at what the New England Patriots did for 20 years. They broke every damn rule in the NFL they could possibly. Awesome. I know Barrett hates them. Awesome. They got away with it. You guys hate it. I call it gamesmanship. Awesome. Patriots broke every rule that they could possibly break and won 6 titles. Man, I love that. Oh, man, I love that. Because they were ahead of the game. They cheated. Okay. Yeah. Hey, every time you walked into a New England Patriots game at Gillette, everybody used to get nervous because they would think they were like tapping your headsets. They were so much the modern day Raiders without Davis. They played head games with every team in the NFL. It's wonderful. I love that mentality. You play head games with your opponent. You beat them before they even step on the field. God, I love that mentality. Man, I love that. I already got you thinking about shit that I could be doing before I even play a game against you. That's wonderful. That's head games, gamesmanship. This country has turned into a victim mentality. What happened to personal responsibility? Well, you're the Deshaun Watson last victim is pressing charges. Oh, Nikki, really? Good luck with that. They'll pay him off. How come the NFL hasn't thrown him out then, Nikki? If he's so guilty of all these sexual crimes, how come they haven't thrown him out? How come they gave him a raise? How come they gave him the only guaranteed contract in NFL history? Can you answer that? He got a raise. He had 25 cases against him. He got a raise. And the NFL cleared him. What are you talking about? It's got to be internet stuff. Okay. Hey, Joe. All good, dude. Joe, you see life your way. I see life mine. We'll agree to disagree. Is that fair? Dude, I don't give a shit about Donald Trump. I don't give a shit about Joe Biden. I told you about America. I don't give a shit about these guys. They're all car thieves. I don't care about them. How many times do I have to tell you? Okay? I hope the kid, and I'm talking Jalen Carter, I hope he understands what's happening right now, because here's the greatest lesson in his life. Unfortunately, it was a horrific lesson. Here's the one thing I hope he learns. Don't trust anybody in the media. Do not. They are not your friends. They are not going to say good things to you. And if you start sucking, you better be in shape. You better be prepared. If it were me, what I would do if I was Jalen Carter being sued now, I would be like a church mouse. Do everything I'm told. Give limited interviews and go out and play my ass off. Because right now, the only thing that you can make all this conversation go away with, because why? We're not playing games. I mean, there's no games to be played. So what do you have to do right now? You have to go and play your ass off and be in shape and contribute to the team's success this year. That's the only thing you can do. Just play ball, baby. Like M. Johnson says, just play ball. Don't play the media game. And I'm sure Bob Lang and them guys at the NovaCare Center are guarding him like he was the King of England. I'm sure they're guarding him, telling him, don't go on social media. Don't say anything. Keep your nose clean. Don't give anything any ammunition. And when you go on social media, shit, Xander and Big Joe and all these guys, don't punch down. Do not, because they're going to be looking for this. Oh, look what the Eagles did. They drafted a guy who had low character. It's not really the case. Good people make bad decisions. Okay? Good people make mistakes. Bad people do good things. Okay? It just, you have to play ball, dude. You have to play ball. All things considered, Philly's going to be in the NFC title game this year. 11. I said the Eagles are going to be in the NFC title game playing the Cowboys. Big Seals, are you trying to say that Watson did not like his... Hey, Nikki, no, all I'm saying is the NFL cleared him, gave him a raise. You can tie anything you want into the stories, Nikki. NFL gave him a raise, guaranteed his contract, $230 million, and he's a starting quarterback for the Browns, one of 32 jobs in the world. Anything you say is a non-factor in those cases. Nothing. They mean nothing. Well, he did this, and he was accused of this, and he's here. Well, okay, great. He just got paid a month ago $109 million. Sounds like a bad guy. They just gave him $100 million. $100 million. Like I'm playing Monopoly. Okay? We're going to talk to our friend Tony Siracusa, not the Goose, obviously. Rest in peace. He's with the Last Word on Sports. He covers college ball. I want to talk to him about this Georgia program and the stuff Baldy said yesterday. Don't forget Ice Cube is tomorrow at 5:30 Eastern time. We're going to have our friend on, owner of the Big Three, huge Laker fan, huge hoop fan, huge sports fan, loves the Raiders too. He's going to join us tomorrow at 5:30. Hour number 2, the 2023 Big Sills Eagle predictions is next. Hour 2, hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust, and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
This is Governor Ed Rendell urging you to vote for my friend Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court. I appointed Judge Dugan in 2007 to the Philadelphia Municipal Court, where he now serves as its president judge. Pat is a proud Army veteran of 23 years. He served 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's also recommended by the Philadelphia Bar Association. But most importantly, he bleeds Eagles green and hates those Dallas Cowboys. So get out and vote for number 3, Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court.
Paid for by Dugan 2023.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Hour 2, Big Silk National Football Show. Appreciate you coming aboard. Thank you very much. I want to show you something. I'm pumping the brakes on something. So on May 10th, the Green Bay Packers are now telling their fans, hey, this Jordan Davis, it's a work in progress. We have to give the player time. Wait a minute. You just gave the guy a contract extension. You just gave the guy a contract extension. Jordan Love, thank you. They just gave him some sort of weirdo contract. They just gave Jordan Love like some sort of like $22 million deal. Right? All of a sudden now, you got management and Matt LaFleur going, hey, wait a minute here. This is a work in progress. Why are you leaking that out? Why are you saying that to your fan base? Are you lowering expectations on May 10th? Welcome to the land of not being relevant anymore because you wanted to move off of Aaron Rodgers so bad. The last 30 years of football, you've had Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. Now you're in the land of shit sticks. Now you're in the land of, hey, wow, I'm watching this guy and he ain't it. You know why they're doing it. They're telling their fan base, if you think we're going to win 11 games and win the NFC North, hey, this is the reality we live in now. Yeah, they burned $22 million 1 year. The guy never played it down. Well, he played a little bit against the Eagles. Now that the Packers are like this, whoa, hey. Before you guys start saying we're going to win the North, this is a work in progress. Oh, since when? So you move off a 4-time NFL MVP to tell your fans, hey, get this, it's a work in progress. Okay. Well, that's quite a nosedive from Aaron Rodgers to let's let this thing work its way out. Holy cow, you talk about defeating and deflating. You're telling your fan base, don't expect too much this year. Oh my God. And you're doing it on May 10th when you don't have to do it. Okay? Hey, look, if they had to step in after Favre and Rodgers, I'd want them to temper expectations a bit. Yeah, but you didn't have to move off of Rodgers. That's my point. You could have had a decent relationship with the egomaniac. Your job as general manager and organization, no matter what kind of freaky personality your player has, especially at that position, is to manage it. The Packers have mismanaged Favre and Rodgers. Should you kowtow to them? Yeah. If you're paying a guy $60 million or $40 million a year, should you give the guy what he wants? Should you bend over for him? You're paying him. Yes. We're not talking about the 53rd guy on your roster. Let me give you a little education here on the Jimmy Johnson totem pole. There's certain guys at the top of the totem pole that you allow to fall asleep in the meeting. And then there's guys at the bottom of that totem pole that if they fall asleep, you're cut. You see, Joe, and some of you guys in here, everybody on the team should be treated the same. Nobody in your place of work is treated the same. People who are the most productive get treated better. People who are the bigger TV stars get treated different. People who are the biggest salesmen get treated different. The NFL isn't a communist country. Hey, everything's got to be done equally and everyone's got to be treated the same. That's not how that works. That's not how that is. Troy Aikman can fall asleep in a meeting. That's right. RY, 53 dudes treated 53 different ways. That's correct, depending who you are. But shouldn't every player in the room be treated the same? So you think I'm going to treat Jalen Hurts the same as I'm going to treat Ian Book? I mean, really? You guys in your own personal lives don't do that. It's crazy. I bet Parcells treated it different than Phil Simms. Well, Parcells, one of the greatest lines of all time, right, Yale? Belichick walks in, looks at Parcells, goes, LT was 15 minutes late to a meeting. You know, I just want to tell you, they're getting ready to play the Eagles. Hey, LT walked in. He was 15 minutes late. Parcells looked at Belichick and went, why'd you start the meeting? You got one of the greatest lines of all time. Why'd you start the meeting? Troy Aikman falls asleep in a team meeting room. And Jimmy Johnson, one of the coaches, Norv Turner, goes, Aikman fell asleep in the meeting. Don't wake him up next time. That's coaching. That's managing. Now, again, there's a production scale. I'll put up with this much shit of you as long as you're producing this much. And when the scale turns, that's when you're gone. But if you're producing like this and you got some really weirdo things, smoking in a teepee and darkness, and you and Cheech and Chong are hanging out at the at the Green concert, or what is that, global warming concert, and you guys are all hanging out smoking weed and your shoes and hemp and all that, I'm all right with that. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is at the Greenpeace and global warming thing, and everyone's smoking their hat. Okay. Did he throw me 40 touchdowns? Yes. Is he the MVP? Yes. I don't care what he smokes. But the Packers let him go, and now they're telling everyone, hey, hey, we got to really be, got to be patient here with Jordan Love. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, that'll go over good with Packer fan after 30 years of greatness at the quarterback position. Now you got to stiffen the building, and you got to tell everyone, maybe we drafted the wrong guy. Ask San Francisco how that thing's going with Trey Lance. Trey Lance. What did I write down here? I wrote something about Trey Lance down here, man. Trey Lance. I can't wait to see this guy. What's this, Jordan Love or Trey Lance? Who will be the bigger bust? Or will it be both of them? I'm trying to figure out, will it be both of them? Or will it be just one of them? Who's going to be the bigger stiff? Trey Lance or Jordan Love? I personally think both of them are stiffs. 3 first-round picks for a bum. Whoo, man. Wait a minute. Bird Gang. God, that hurts. Wait a minute. Hey, Bird Gang, watch this. 3 first-round picks for a bum. Ooh, that hurt. Ow. Man, does that hurt. Wow. Man. I had to tighten my butt cheeks for that one. Oh, man. Oh. Woo. Man, that hurts. 3 first-round picks for a bum. Oh, man. Hey, Niner guy. Purdy's the only way that's going to save you, man. Chicken wing Purdy. Hey, chicken wing Purdy, man, is the only way that you save that. Mr. Irrelevant can save John Lynch's job. 3 1s. How you doing? All right, here we go. This is, because I got this idea yesterday because I had some predictions about the NFL season coming up. These are my bold 2023 Philadelphia Eagle predictions. Are you ready? Here we go. Hey, and you know what everyone's going to say? Weren't you just talking shit on the Georgia guys? Not the Georgia guys, the program. The program. Here is prediction number 1 for the Eagles. Bold predictions for 2023. Nolan Smith is going to lead the Philadelphia Eagles in sacks with +10. I think this player, he's impressed me. I like him. He commands the room. I'm rooting for him. I think Nolan Smith is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles sack leader for 2023. JM goes, I'm recording that clip. I'm going to hold you to it, Sills. He barely had 10 in 4 years. Well, let me hook. Look. Hey, Tone. Well, let me hook you up there, my friend. He barely had 10 in 4 years. That's why they're called bold predictions. Bold predictions. Okay? Bold predictions. He's competing with Reddick. I get it. Prediction number 2 for the 2023 Philadelphia Eagle season. Hurts will not play 17 games this year. And not because he's sitting, because they've wrapped up home field. He will not play 17 games. Prediction number 3 for the Philadelphia Eagle 2023 season. The Eagles will win 11 ball games. And for the first time since 2004, win the NFC East. Prediction number 4. Hurts will not throw once again for 4K or 30 touchdowns in a season. Bold prediction number 5. Jordan Davis will not start a down in 2023. I think he's going to be the rotator guy. I think he's going to be the rotation guy. And I think Fletcher and Jalen are going to be your starters. Not bad. Two great players or two great talents. Okay. Hey, by the way, not beating out Fletcher Cox, is that a bad thing? It's going to tell you kind of who he is, though. Prediction number 6. I think the Eagles give up 28 points a game on defense. Now, so you understand, I think the Eagles are going to score over 30, 34, somewhere in there. I think the Eagles have a chance to be the highest scoring offense in the NFL. But I think they're going to give it back. I think they're going to be in a lot of tight games this year. But your offense is so good, it's going to keep you in every game. It's going to keep you in every ball game. You're not going to be favored in every football game you're going to play this year. You're just not. But I think your offense is going to win in spite of some of the defensive woes that they're going to have this year. I think Dallas Goedert. I think he's going to catch, and I think he's going to be your number one pass catcher in 2023. I think he gets 1K and 100 catches in 2023. Dallas Goedert will be the number one target in your offense. 100 catches, 1,000 yards. Shitty was on pace for that last year. I think he's going to solidify himself as one of the top 3 tight ends in the NFL. Yeah, I love this guy. He's got a nose for the end zone. He's a hard worker. I just think he's super talented. Now, by the way, I'm not saying that the other receivers are not going to catch 1,000 yards. I'm saying that Dallas Goedert's going to be your number one target. You're going to see 100 catches out of him, and I think you're going to see 1,000 yards out of him. This is a crazy one here. I think DeAndre Swift's going to get 1,000 yards rushing. I think he's going to get 1,000 yards rushing. I don't think he ever has, but I think he runs the ball for 1,000 yards. And I think you cover Miles Sanders with him. I think he stays healthy, and I think he gets 1,000 yards. I love this guy. You know what, man? He's a cheap man's version of Christian McCaffrey. I think he's good. I just do. I think he's a really good ball player. Prediction number 9. I think Devontae Smith becomes your number one wide receiver in 2023. I think he has a better season than A.J. Brown. So before I get to 10, and I have a special one for you. Nolan Smith, 1, leads the Eagles in sacks, 10+. Hurts will not play 17 ball games, and that's not in line with the team sitting him. I think he's going to get banged up a little bit, like he has the last 2 years. Eagles win 11 ball games and the East. Hurts is not throwing for 4K, 30 TDs. Jordan Davis will not start a down this year. The Eagle defense will give up 28 points a game. Goddard's going to be the number one target in this Eagle offense. DeAndre Swift will get 1,000 yards rushing. Devontae Smith will be your number one wideout. Number 10, bold predictions for the Philadelphia Eagles. In 2023, I think the Eagles will replace Sean Desai as defensive coordinator by the end of the year and name Matt Patricia the defensive coordinator to fix the defense after week 8. And that's how they right the ship, fix some of the issues on defense, and they're able to run through the tape. The side will be replaced. This is why they're bold predictions. Thought you liked Desai. That has nothing to do with whether I liked him or not. Jonathan Gannon was second in the NFL last year and had a top 10 defense the year before. And everyone was screaming for his head. What does being a good hire and a good coach and a good mind and a good innovator have to do with the fact that if you give up 28 points a game and you're in that conversation, what does that have to do with anything? I think Sean Desai is a good coach. He comes with great recommendations. But there's a reason they hired Matt Patricia. There's a reason they brought him in. You think they brought Matt Patricia in for shits and giggles? Or do you think they brought him in to oversee what he's doing? I do. Okay? And here's my final prediction for 2023. This pains me. This pains me. This pains me to say. This pains me. I think Hurts wins the MVP. That's it, Chris. Hurts wins the MVP. Hurts wins the MVP. I think he's going to carry that football team to the NFC title game. Can't believe it. I cannot believe I said it. Shit. Sills is kissing that. Oh, yeah, that's. Oh, did you? Niner guy goes, I'm kissing your ass. Did you not listen to the first hour? Hold on for a minute. Did you not listen to the first hour, Niner? Okay, I mean, did you not listen to the first hour? Niner must have missed the first hour of me talking about the Georgia guys. He must have missed it. Yeah, because that's what I'm known for. I said it. Oh, dual threat. There it is. Oh, shit. Dual threat. It doesn't it? It hurts, doesn't it? Shut up, Sue. Hope you're right, bro. Listen every day. Thank you, Philly D. Oh, man. Dual threat. Neil comes back. Oh, God. Jackson, Burrow, and Rodgers are going to make it difficult. Yes. Yes. But don't you think he has an easier road to success in the NFC versus those other guys? Aren't those other guys going to eat their own? I mean, dude, look at the AFC. The AFC right now is littered. And by the way, I see we're having some little bit of internet issues here, so hopefully it clears itself up and you guys are all cool. Aren't those guys going to eat themselves up a little bit, though, over in the AFC side? You know, you got Burrow versus Allen and Mahomes, and those guys are going to be going back and forth, and I think they're going to eat each other up. What is the most difficult path to the NFC title game for the Eagles this coming season? It's loaded on that side of the conference, that side of the NFL. It's just loaded. Ain't no thing about a chicken wing. Not sure the Eagles make it to the NFC title game with that schedule. Number one toughest schedule, too. Okay? Philly has the toughest schedule. Kyle says Niners or Cowboys. What of those two teams do you think is the more difficult? Niners or Cowboys? I know who I think is more. For the Eagles to get, for the Eagles to get to the NFC title game, Minnesota's not a threat. Detroit could be a threat. Detroit could be a threat. Okay? Detroit could be a threat. But they haven't done it. What other team? Packers, no. Seahawks, maybe. It's Niners and Cowboys. Of those two teams, who do you fear more potentially being the NFC champion if you're Philly? Dallas or San Francisco? Eagle Eye, you shouldn't say no threat because the Cowboys have owned you, especially with Dak. Niners or Cowboys are both difficult for different reasons. Cowboys because of Dak effect and Niners because they're just so damn talented. Agreed. Here's why I think it's Dallas. Dallas, Detroit. Hey, parlay, it's not bad. That's not bad. Here's why it's Dallas. You play them as a common opponent. They know you. They know how to attack you. They've got Dak. Dak has been, get this. No, how many people believe that Jalen's a better quarterback than Dak Prescott? He hasn't proven that yet in head-to-head competition. He has not proven that. He has not proven that. That's not a fact. That's an inspiration. That's not a fact. Dak has performed against the Eagles and quite well. So that's right, Neil. The Eagles are going to have to go out and prove that they can beat Dallas. San Francisco, they have. And I know what Niner guys are doing. Niner guys are going like this. Well, we lost our quarterback. Dude, it's part of football. Guys getting knocked out of games because a pass rusher hits your quarterback and breaks his chicken wing. That's part of football. You can't make an excuse for a football. Dude, it's one thing if Brock Purdy had the flu and couldn't play, or he had COVID and couldn't play. That's clearly an excuse. But when you get your ass kicked and you get your ass hit, that's a football play. You can't make excuses for a football play. Niner guys want to make excuses for the fact that you couldn't defend your guy, even yesterday. Brian Baldinger brought that up. You can't make excuses for that. You're making an excuse because a guy missed a game over COVID or somebody dies and he couldn't be there for the game for whatever reason. Not because of a football play. They hit the quarterback. They knocked him out. You couldn't do anything without Brock Purdy in there. And that was the end of it. That was the end of it. So when you hear Dumbo Samuel making excuses, well, we played with 10 guys. Bro, part of football, man. I don't know what football you play, but it's called tackle ball and hitting, catching, tackling, running. That's football. You can't make excuses up for that. And then what does your dumbass coach do? He put the wounded chicken wing back in. Hey, you think you can go? Yeah. Can you imagine? Brock Purdy's like this in a sling. Here's Brock Purdy. He's in a sling. And your coach comes over to you and goes, hey, do you think you can go? Excuse the internet. I appreciate you guys hanging tight with Big Sales. Hey, do you think you can go? Yeah. Dallas is your bigger opponent if you're the Philly because they play you twice a year. They're a division foe. They know you, and at times they have your number. Philadelphia's got to beat Dak. They've got to beat Dak. Dude, I'll tell you what. I'd like to have seen the NFC title game with the Cowboys in that title game last year versus Philly. What that game may have looked like. Because you've had no success against that guy. And how would that have looked? With the Cowboys rolling into Lincoln Financial. Do I think the Eagles would have won that game last year if the Cowboys had gotten to the NFC title game? I do. But it would not have been some runaway. It would have been, I think, last possession type of football game. I don't think it would have been a last possession game. I think, again, San Francisco has not been able to figure out the quarterback position. It's why they don't have a Super Bowl title. They had the quarterback situation figured out with Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick has been your best quarterback over the last 10 years. He's been your best quarterback. And you fired him because you had shitty management. You fired your coach, or you let your coach walk out you fired her. I think you fired. Didn't you fire Jim Harbaugh? You made poor decisions in the front office. You had a general manager that was going wild, and you fired a quarterback who was on his way to being what the modern-day quarterback is today, the RPO guy. Can you imagine if you left Colin Kaepernick alone and you let him develop what he would have looked like today? He may have been ahead of even what Lamar Jackson is. Guy may have been an MVP. I'm sorry. I know some of you don't like his politics. I don't care about his politics. Colin Kaepernick was a good quarterback. He is what Jalen Hurts is today. Colin Kaepernick is exactly what Jalen Hurts is today. So before you guys start shitting on Colin Kaepernick, I've never seen a guy throw for 250 yards in a game and run for 250 yards. I've never seen anybody do that. Not in an NFL game. And I think he did that in a playoff game against the Packers, didn't he? I mean, you had the guy. And then his bullshit got in the way of himself too a little bit. And he started going on Oprah. And anybody who goes on Oprah gets their career destroyed. So, I mean, when you start doing that political shit, he killed himself too. Now, he's loaded because, you know, he makes money off of race, which is, I get it. It's okay. There's an industry today on race. So you can make a lot of money on it. And people do make a lot of money on it. And so, hey, NFL gave him $20 million to go away. But he was the quarterback. I thought Colin Kaepernick was a fantastic player. They just started losing players in San Francisco around him. And when you look at his last year numbers, shit, he was on pace for 3,400 yards passing, 800 yards rushing, 24 touchdown passes. The same shit Jalen does. Okay? I mean, look at his last year. You're trying to tell me you think Jalen Hurts put a better year together than the Super Bowl season that Colin Kaepernick did? I don't. Kaepernick was a hell of a ball player, man. Colin Kaepernick, stats. You guys let your politics get in the way. See, this is what I talk about. I don't give a – right. You would think a guy like me doesn't like Kaepernick, but I do. Yeah, hey, Jalen's a pro. That separated it. But here's Colin Kaepernick's last year in San Francisco. You tell me if this was bad. So he was 1-10 when they yanked him. That's a team deal, too. He had 331 attempts and 200 completions. 60%. Okay, not terribly great. He had 2241 in passing yards. So you put another 5 games on that, he's around 3,200 passing yards. He had 16 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. So he's at 22 touchdowns, what Jalen had this year. 6 picks. I don't know. You're making it sound like this guy. And then he had 468 yards rushing. So you put another 5 games on that, he's around 700 yards rushing. Those are Jalen Hurts numbers. And Jalen Hurts has got a $255 million deal. Higher percentage in completion for sure for Jalen. Better passer. But Colin Kaepernick was a better athlete than Jalen Hurts. He was. His leadership skills were lacking. He did get to a Super Bowl. Like, wait a minute, Chris. His leadership skills were lacking. Well, he carried a team to a Super Bowl too. He's got an NFC championship ring. What's Jalen done more than him? Get paid? Okay, fair enough. Remember, he was making $17 million a year. Wasn't like he was making chicken shit. This was 8 years ago, too. He was making a lot of money. He was making like $17 million a year. Wasn't like he wasn't making any money. So I'm just saying, I mean, before you start talking about, well, Jalen was a much better. No, he wasn't. Stayed quiet. Probably so, all that stuff. Again, politics got in the way. I agree with you, Yale. I completely agree with you. He didn't live and breathe football. Probably true. But Cap allowed his BLM girlfriend to control his life. Chris, probably so. But I liked him. I liked him, the player, not the politic guy. I did. Every time I watched Kaepernick play, I was like this. Holy shit. I thought he was going to be better than Cam Newton. Didn't you guys think that? Cal Green, Cap sold out. Dude, are you, hey, Callie, NFL comes to you and wants to give you $20 million to go away. Are you going to take it, or are you just going to go, no, I'm going to stand on my political beliefs? Come on, dog. Every guy in his right mind would have took the money. Okay? Right? Hey, again, not revisiting anything here. How did we get over here, too? Yeah, I'm talking about the Cowboys. Yeah, I don't know how we got there. 49ers without a quarterback. That's right. That's how we got here. You haven't had a quarterback since Kaepernick. So, I mean, to sit here and say, well, the 49ers are going to be a threat. Yeah, they're going to be a threat because they have a great roster. They have a great roster. There's no debating. Who has a better roster? Take the quarterbacks out of the conversation, Sills. Who's got a better roster? 49ers or Eagles? 49ers. Absolutely. I'll say that. More experience. Sure. Guys at the top of their profession. Sure. Hey, the only reason I picked Trent Williams over Lane is because Trent plays the left tackle position. But those two guys are going to the Hall of Fame. Kelsey's the best center in the NFL. He's going to the Hall of Fame too. Landon Dickerson's going to take over for Zach Martin. He is. Hey, Kittle or Goddard? Who would you take? Kittle or Goddard? Who would you take? Who would you take, Kittle or Goddard? Man. Boy, I like Dallas Goedert more. That's right. Mulata, your old line's better than San Francisco's. You take Kittle, Michael. Michael, Michael, I don't think there's a wrong take here. I don't think there's a wrong take here with that. No QB. Agreed. That's the thing that gives it to Philadelphia. But see, when you go to the Dallas conversation, Dallas gets the nod because why? They haven't beaten really Dak in any way. Even though, hey, well, here, let me go here and give you an example of that. Last year in the Super Bowl, did you guys think the Eagles had the better roster to the Kansas City Chiefs? Did you guys think you had the better roster? I did, and I still do. But they had the better quarterback, right? And by the way, no shame on Jalen. It's Mahomes. Mahomes is going to the Hall of Fame. Mahomes is going to the Hall of Fame. But you guys had a better roster. Well, I think you got a better roster than Dallas. But Dallas has a quarterback that beats you. So that's why Dallas, in my opinion, is more of the team that's the threat to the Eagles than the Niners. The Niners, if they called, last year, one of the things that I loved hearing in this offseason was that the 49ers were in conversation with Ben Roethlisberger and having him come and play some quarterback for them. And it just didn't work out. That would have been remarkable. Roethlisberger in an NFC title game could have been an amazing game at Lincoln Financial. Calvin goes, no, we didn't. Really? Dude, all you have to do is Google it. No, we didn't. Yeah, you did. Facts, Hills, we aren't a threat. I didn't say you weren't a threat. I didn't say, I said you're not as much of a threat because you don't have the quarterback that beats Philly. Dallas does. Dallas does. Brian, think about that. If Roethlisberger had come out of retirement and San Francisco had put him in the building, that may have been an interesting NFC title game. Neil goes, Jalen was horrible that day. I thought Jalen Hurts was horrible in the entire playoffs except for the Super Bowl. I thought he was terrible in the Giant game. I thought he was terrible in the NFC title game. He was spectacular in the Super Bowl. He was spectacular. I don't care how you look at it. Look at the numbers too. He just wasn't very good. But in the Super Bowl, he was spectacular. Outside of the play, he dropped the ball on the scoop and score. I thought he was great in the Super Bowl. Great. Neil, great bowl game, right? Great Super Bowl. Bad in the playoffs. But they didn't have to be because Christian McCaffrey was mopping up in the NFC title game. I can live with that. Turn it up when it counts. Yeah, no. I mean, but no, you know what? Anything, it's not an indictment, Tone. It's just what happened. It's not an indictment on Jalen. It's just he didn't play well in those games. He was spectacular in the Super Bowl. He was. I thought he was sensational. He did not smoke the Giants, dude. He did not play well in those games. He did not. And the Devontae Smith, he'd have thrown for only 90 yards in that game against the Niners. He didn't play well. Okay? He did not. Seals, the 49ers are hosting open tryouts for fans to fill the quarterback position. Joshua, that's pretty funny. Bad because he was playing injured, unlike well, that's part of the conversation that we always have with dual threat. He ran all over the Giants. Dog, that's not true. That's not true. You guys had 230 yards of total offense against them. Again, the Giant game, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the lowest offensive output against any team this year was against San Francisco. You take that 30-yarder, that 30-yard gift catch away to Devontae, you had 230 yards against the Niners. Wasn't like you were putting up enormous chunk yards. You beat them in the second half running the ball for sure. But throwing the ball, that was nowhere to be seen in that game. You didn't have to. The Giants were a non-factor. They beat them up. It was easy. The Eagles were not threatened in any way whatsoever. And the quarterback played 2 very below average playoff games. He wasn't asked to have to win a game for him. He didn't have to. Hassan Reddick won that NFC title game. It's, again, stop disputing facts. Didn't have to throw in the San Francisco game. That's actually factual. That's Cooley? Correct. Correct. Absolutely. You're not saying you're saying the same thing I am. Correct. Are you suggesting that Jalen Hurts played great against the Giants? I don't even want to look up those shitty numbers. He was a really good running back in that game. Again, John, correct. He was spectacular in the Super Bowl. Correct. Brian Dable is a great coach regardless. We'll find out this year. I think the Giants walk back a little bit. Okay, I think the Giants walk back. We'll see. I'm sorry, but I'm not a Daniel Jones guy. Okay? I am not a Daniel Jones guy. I would say Hurts wasn't good in the San Fran game. In the Giant game, I think he was better than you're implying. 67 completion, 2 touchdowns, 150 yards passing, 1 rushing TD. Defense created short fields. So 188 yards in total offense he had against the Giants. You would consider that good in a divisional game? Okay. I'll disagree on that. I don't think that was spectacular. And to me, I don't think that was the Devontae catch. I think that was San Francisco. But 154 passing, 34 rushing, less than 200 yards in total offense. I wouldn't put that on my trophy case as a great game, as one of my games. Now, again, he didn't have to do anything because the Giants weren't good. Giants were decent. 67 completion percentage and the 2 TDs. That's good. Okay. But again, less than 200 yards in offense. I don't know. I mean, is that $55 million? Hey, I said to you, he's going to win the MVP this year. Jesus criminy. You've been saying stats don't mean shit. Well, okay. Stats. I'm talking production here. 200 yards in total offense by him? All right. Hey, if you consider 200 yards in total offense, okay. That's not the elite guys. Now, again, what was Mahomes' numbers in the Super Bowl? You could make the same comment that Tone just made. Hey, Sills, did Mahomes have 200 yards in total offense in the Super Bowl? No, he didn't. Okay? No, he didn't. But Mahomes beat you with Juju Smith-Schuster. There's a difference. He beat you with Juju Smith-Schuster and some other dude. Travis Kelce's there. I get it. But Patrick Mahomes beat you with Juju Smith-Schuster and some dude named Ferdy Pacheco that they drafted in the 7th round. Not A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, and the best O-line in football. He beat you with a lesser team. And Andy Reid. And Mahomes was on one leg. He was hurt too. Going back to your bold predictions, how many yards receiving do you predict by Swift? I like it, John. John, I think he gets 1,000 yards, and I think he gets 500 yards in receptions and receiving yards. Okay? In receiving yards. I think he's going to have a really good year. Okay? Seals, Hurts went 21 of 31, 217 and 2 touchdowns. What game was that? What game was that? What playoff game was that this year? Where he went 21 of 31, 217. What game was that? He didn't throw for 200 yards in a football game in the playoffs this year, except for the Super Bowl. What game are you talking about? I missed that game. Extend Swift? We'll see. We'll see. I think Swift gets 1,400 yards total, all-pro yards. I don't understand why people think Swift is an upgrade from Sanders. Because, Umberto, I would say this to you. I would say this to you because he's a pass catcher. Don't just put out the numbers here in the Giant game. 154 yards passing, 1 TD, 34 yards rushing. What 217? What 217? Swift is more. I agree, Tone. I think Swift is more explosive. I do. I think he's more explosive. Dude, I loved him in that first game of the year. I loved him in the first game of the year. I do. Tone, I'm with you, man. I think and way better in the passing game. He's going to create, in my opinion, he's going to create a screen game for you guys that you don't have, and that's going to be part of the new wave and how you're going to attack people. Okay? That's how you're going to look at it, because he's going to be involved in the screen game. I totally agree with that. I like him. I think he's going to be more explosive. I totally do. All right. We're going to talk to our friend, Tony Siracusa. And again, it's not the Goose. He's from The Last Word in Sports. That's going to be at 5:30 Eastern time. I want to talk to him about this Georgia program because Brian Baldinger brought something up yesterday. Tone and I were talking, and we were talking about, again, the scenario and how these Georgia players don't look like they're in shape when they come into the NFL. Okay? They look like they're not in shape. Both guys are under that guise. And Baldinger said it yesterday. You can go over to our interview that we did with him yesterday. He said it's that program is really weird. That they don't really seemingly, they rotate so many guys that it looks a little weird at times. And you don't get a true assessment on the evaluation because you just don't see a ton of production when you look at their numbers on what they did at Georgia. So we're going to look at that. We're going to reset. Hit the like button. Power Hour's coming up. Hit that like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
This is Governor Ed Rendell urging you to vote for my friend Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court. I appointed Judge Dugan in 2007 to the Philadelphia Municipal Court, where he now serves as its president judge. Pat is a proud Army veteran of 23 years. He served 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's also recommended by the Philadelphia Bar Association. But most importantly, he bleeds Eagles green and hates those Dallas Cowboys. So get out and vote for number 3, Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court.
Paid for by Dugan 2023.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Appreciate you guys coming aboard. Just wanted to make sure that we're factual in this thing here. That what we were saying here about the Giant game. I don't know what game you guys were watching. He's exactly what Tone said. 16 to 24, 154 passing, 34 rushing. He didn't throw for 200 yards. As a matter of fact, in the NFC title game, 121, and he ran for 39. Nowhere at all in any game did he play in the postseason outside the Super Bowl did he put up a 200-yard effort. I mean, I don't know what games you're watching. And once again, you're trying to change the narrative. Now, to Tone's point, 16 to 24 is not horrible. And in a game where you didn't really have to throw the ball, okay? And then what did we learn from Peter King? Remember what Peter King said? Peter King came out and said publicly, he goes, Jalen told him he could barely raise his arm when he was in that Giant game. So that has to have some bearing in it. But again, Mahomes played hurt too. So, I mean, don't try. The problem that you get with certain fans, they'll lie to you. And they'll tell you that, and they'll try to change the narrative, and they'll see things the way they want to hear them. And again, okay, it's just not the truth. And in the 49er game, if you take that pass away from Devontae, which is clearly a drop, he throws for less than 120 yards in that game. Maybe even less than 100, because it was a 60-yard completion, I think. And again, remember something. They weren't challenged in the postseason at all, except in the Super Bowl when they had to play. And let's be fair here on one thing. Jalen Hurts didn't play against those other quarterbacks. The guy who let the Eagles down the most is Jonathan Gannon in the Super Bowl, because Hurts played spectacular, even with the scoop and score. He was sensational in that game. And the Eagles, quite frankly, should have won that game. They had the lead. They had everything going in their direction. And Mahomes and Reed took that Jonathan Gannon defense apart in the second half. That's clearly what, hey, do I think Jalen Hurts hurt the Eagles' chances of losing that Super Bowl in that Super Bowl? Absolutely not. Even with the fumble. Hurts kept you in the game. Hurts kept you in the game. He was marvelous. I said it that Monday. He was spectacular. Outplayed Mahomes, not in the second half, but in the overall 4 quarters. Yeah. And you can't I hate when people dissect at what I just said too. Well, for about 8 minutes. That's Skip Bayless dumb shit. I kind of hate that too. For 4 quarters, Hurts was the better guy on the field. He was. When it comes to the quarterback position, Hurts was, I'm comfortable saying that. Hurts was the better player on the field. Andy Reid was the better coach, and Spagnuolo was the better coordinator on defense. That's what won the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was won because the Eagles didn't have the experience in the coaching staff that the Chiefs had, and the type of player Mahomes is. That is clearly what happened. Am I wrong with what I saw? Spagnuolo's a better coordinator. He's a former head coach. I think he's done a terrific job in Kansas City. Andy Reid's maybe the best play calling head coach we've seen in quite some time. And the quarterback is a transcendent talent. It's no shame. You're in the era of Mahomes. It's like Jalen Hurts is in the, not just Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. Dude, you're in the land and you're in the era of Mahomes. Just like Phil Mickelson was in the era of Tiger. Phil Mickelson any less of a golfer or talent, or Manning any less of a talent than some of the greats that have played? You're in the era of Brady. When people go like this, Sills, look at the era of Jordan. You're trying to tell me Clyde Drexler wasn't a great player, or Karl Malone, or any of those guys? They were all great players, but you're in the era of Jordan. That just, you run into that. Bob goes, Sills, circling back, why is the college coach Kirby responsible for generating NFL stars? He's not, and he doesn't. NFL position coaches and schemes need to do that. Is Jimmy responsible for your career? No. This was more this, though, Bob, what I'm saying about it. This is what I'm saying about the Georgia guys. Are you guys putting too many expectations on these players from Georgia? I mean, they really didn't use them. I don't know. I mean, it's weird. I mean, Brian Baldinger, hey, and I've said this to you guys, and I'll say it again. One more underscore here. I am not in any way saying Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Keely Ringo, any of these Georgia guys are not good ball players. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying because they do so much rotation and so much rotating of players, they're not in game shape when they get to the NFL when they're asked to play more game reps. Doesn't that make sense? Tone, listen to what I just said. So if you're asked to play 25 plays at Georgia and they're all impactful plays, and you got 3 guys behind you getting game reps too, and you come to the NFL and you're being asked to play 60 plays, you think Jordan Davis is going to be in shape for that or know how to play like that when he hasn't for 4 years at Georgia? Where in your right mind would you think that he would know that? Coaches could tell you all the shit you want. Until you experience it, I gave you the greatest example. That's right, Roland. I think rotating is a double-edged sword. I gave you the greatest example of this. When Eric Dickerson came into the league, it's simple math. It is. It's simple math. But don't you see? There might actually be more upside for Jordan Davis than what I thought. When Eric Dickerson told me this, and I said this yesterday, and I'll repeat it again. Dickerson came into the league, had 1,805 or 1,800 yards his first year, 340 carries. He told me by the end of the year, he was so out of gas because he wasn't prepared to play that many reps. Dude, when he was at SMU, he played 12, 13 games a year, 12 games most maybe. Back then, 12 games. Okay, 12 games. 200 carries, 240. 12 games. And then he'd go home. The NFL, playing 16 games, carrying the ball 28 times a game, 340 carries. He's like this. Sills, I got to the end. I was out of gas. I had to get in better shape. He came back the next year, had 2105. Record still stands. There's more games now. And that record still stands at 2105. Eric Dickerson still has the record, and there's more games played at 2105. His first 2 years, he gained 4,000 rushing yards. That guy was a freak show. A complete freak show. But he said he wasn't in shape. And so my point about the Georgia program is that, again, is it Kirby Smart's responsibility? No. Okay? It's not. It's not Kirby Smart. That's why when you get players from Georgia, you should be cognizant of how they use them. Tony says they'll get into game shape. They have built. Well, here, Tone, here's the one thing that I'll say to you. They'll get in game shape. Jordan Davis didn't. Okay, Jordan Davis didn't get in shape last year. Now, again, it was a different role. He was a backup. Okay, he was a backup. It's on the players to put the time and work into being great. Absolutely, Joshua. No getting around it. No getting around it. Okay? Big Sills, how can we send you stuff? Like P.O. Box? Go over to my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show. I'll accept some stuff, except from the weirdo guys. And what's crazy is the hottest chicks on the planet send me, "Hi, Dan." hey, Tone, I get some of these, "Hi, Dan." And they're like, I'm like, yeah, sure. It's a fat dude that weighs 700 pounds. My wife saw one the other day. I said, look at this. It's a fat dude that weighs 785 pounds, putting a picture of a really hot chick and thinking that I'm that gullible. Really? Okay. Because really hot chicks want to date Big Sills. Yeah. Hey, right. Hey, Tone, you should see some. I'm going to send you some of these pictures. Hey, Tone, wait a minute. I got a bunch of, I think, women. "Hi, Dan. My name is Motisha. Look at me. I live in South Florida." Damn, look at that picture. They think we're so gullible, man. We are. Okay, we are. We're easily influenced. I get you, and I understand this. Okay, but still. Hey, JM, that's something. I told you, man. 2 things Big Sills will never have happen. You ready? I'll never get a DUI because I don't do that. And secondly, you'll never see a Brett Favre pic sent to a chick. No Rumpelstiltskin pictures of Big Sills being sent to women. What is that? Is that a pumpkin? Oh, man, Sills has a garage full of stuff. We could make a couple million off it. Dude, Joseph, dead right. Dead right, dog. Okay? Hey, JM. Yeah, no Rumpelstiltskin pictures of Big Sills being sent to chicks. Oh, man. What is that? What is that? Are those coconuts? Oh, man. You guys are crazy ass. Hey, listen, before we get Tony Siracusa from The Last Word in Sports, I want to talk to him about the Georgia program. And again, guys, no one is saying that the Eagles have drafted wrong or bad here. No one's saying that. Tone, have I said that? Okay? Have I said that these guys are bad draft choices? Have I come out and said that? I don't think I've said. Look, I'm suspect on Nakobe Dean. I want to see him play because I haven't seen him play. I want to see Jordan Davis maybe do a little bit more. But I don't think that I've come out and said that these guys were bad draft choices. What I've said is that, and I expanded a little bit on what Baldinger, we had kind of hit on that. Okay? We kind of hit on that. You know, these guys don't have a big production line. I even started my interview out with Brian Baldinger. I'd be like, man, when you look at the numbers on these guys, I mean, like the biggest year that Jalen Carter had, I think he had 8 sacks. I think that was in his junior year. He had 8 sacks or something like that in his second to last year at Georgia. Not terrible, but I mean, not spectacular. It's just a different world today. Whatever happened to the Georgia player that was taken first off? I think the kid Walker's a pretty good ball player. I think he's going to, you know what's funny about him, Brian? He got better as the year went on. I think personally, Brian, that kid Walker got better as the year got on because I think he got in better shape. And as the year went on, because I don't remember him in the Eagle game, do you? Do you remember that kid Walker at all making any impact plays in the Eagle game? I don't remember him. But I saw him at the end of the year. I saw him making plays all over the field for the Jags. I'm much more confident in Dean with Carter, Davis, and Cox in front of him. His biggest strength is diagnosing the play and making it. Yeah, but Tony, you think that guy's going to get through a 17-game NFL season if those tackles in front of him aren't stopping the run? Not a chance. That's what I want to see. Big Sills, would you rather have Javon Hargrave or Jalen Carter? I think there's more upside with Jalen Carter. I think Jalen Carter has more of a ceiling, and I personally don't think that Javon Hargrave's a very good run stopper. But I do think Jalen Carter's got to get in shape to play the run and to be a pass rusher and to be on the field for 3 downs. You've got to be in shape, guys. He's got to be in shape. I think they're going to be. I think Tracy's going to read them the riot act. I do. I think he's going to read them the riot act on this. Trayvon Walker had a good year. You know, I think he's a good player. We need another linebacker. I think that could happen, Sully, after June 1. Cheaper and more upside, and younger and more athletic. Add that in. Add that in, JM. Not just cheaper, more athletic and younger. That also, hey, what you don't want to hear is this, JM. Cheaper, older, even though they're more experienced, you're taking a gamble that this guy's on his last fill up at the gas can. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather be this, younger, more athletic than older. You know what I'm saying? And more expensive. I like Tracy too. Tracy's a former teammate of mine, as you guys know. Some of you know. I'd rather have Carter than Hargrave anyway. Oh, me too. I wouldn't lose sleep over it. The world we live in, bad situation for everyone. Hey, man, look, that civil lawsuit, I don't care. Deal with it respectfully. Hey, I'm going to talk to you guys like normal human beings here, not politically correct. So excuse me if I'm a little hard here on this thing. The law, prosecutors, everyone else, is not criminally charging Jalen Carter in that unfortunate situation. These people now are coming after his money, which is expected. Other than that, as a fan, as a person who covers him, I don't care. My problem will be if he does something stupid again. Then we're going to have a problem, because then we're talking about repetitive bad situations. And then we're going to be talking about a guy that you got to keep more of an eye on. And that I don't want. We're all grown-ups here. And as I said, good people make mistakes. Okay? They do. Bad people do good things. It happens. So it's no indictment on anybody. The problem becomes an indictment on you when you continually make bad decisions. And if you're consistently making bad decisions, that's somebody I don't want in my locker room or on my roster. That, to me, I like that CJ Mosley, Sully. That, to me, is the problem. My issue is going to be if he starts making mistakes over again. Okay? But to me, right now, I'm talking to you as how I would talk to anybody. I don't care. It has no bearing on him playing this year in 2023. As long as everything is dotted, cross the T's, nobody's in any kind of legal issue, I don't care. And the Eagles don't care. Publicly, they'll go, hey, we're dealing with this and that, because there's too many snowflakes out there that they got to feel better about themselves. So that's how they'll do it. Because, you got to talk to certain people a certain way, or they'll think you're an asshole. Because people can't be spoken to. I was watching Richard Dreyfuss. He was talking about how, there got to be new requirements now for the Academy Award to make a movie. And he was going into it. He goes, it makes me vomit that both sides of our society, that, somebody can't be offended or somebody can be offended. Who are we to do that? It was a great interview. And he's so right. Because you got to talk to certain people a certain way. I didn't really feel you felt you were sorry. I don't care what you think. And see, that's why, yeah, I think that's why some people don't like Big Sills right there. Because I don't really care. I used to care. Hey, Dan, is it weird that we haven't heard anything about our D coordinator? It is. I still think they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. Gannon gave us Isaiah Simmons, please. Give us Isaiah. He's a good ball player. Carter's a good kid. He made a mistake. He'll be fine. Fly, I'm with you. I am totally. You know what, too? Could we also say this? Carter's not. What? Here is the narrative on Carter. Ready? He made a bad decision. 2 people died. He didn't come in shape. And he wasn't in shape for the combines. He couldn't get through drills. And they tied both of those together. And now we're talking about, well, the last 2 defensive tackles the Eagles took, they weren't in shape. Then you had Brian Baldinger say it. I think that's more of a coincidence that this just happened to be, and these guys are products of that program and how they rotate players. And then the unfortunate situation, I think it collided. And that's why people have a bad opinion and maybe impression of Jalen Carter. That's why the Eagles took him at 9. I think it just collided. I don't think it's an indictment on the kid that he's not in shape. I think it's the way Georgia uses him. I'll tell you this. Was there another – did Georgia have another D lineman drafted this year in the draft? I think they had another kid drafted. I'm going to keep an eye on him. I'm going to keep an eye on him and see what kind of shape and what kind of impact he has on his respected team. Because I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's like what one of you guys said. Personally, I think it's a product of the environment of rotating. And I think it is a double-edged sword in the rotating. I don't know anyone who has ever sped when they were younger. Unfortunately, what happened to the kid can't be arrested for speeding. Plus, they're in a big city and lots of action fun. They need to stay focused on football. Is it your body or Georgia? I'm not sure what you mean. I love Nolan Smith. I'm nervous about Jordan Davis. Caleb, I think Jordan Davis wants to be great. I do. He hasn't shown me any way that he doesn't. He just wasn't ready to play last year. Carter isn't a saint. I don't know that, Tony. Tony, that's not a fair indictment. You don't know that, nor do I. Okay? But he isn't a murderer. Okay, but he isn't a murderer. Most of us are all guilty of bad judgment and bad behavior while growing up, for sure. What matters is if you can learn from those moments and strive to be more. Don't you guys think that the Eagles did all their homework on these guys? I think they did all their homework on these guys, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to talk to Tony Siracusa from Last Word in Sports, because he's in that neck of the woods right now. He's around the North Carolina area, and he covers college football. He votes on the Heisman. He votes on every award, all the All-Americans. He was around Jordan Davis. He was around Jalen Carter. He knows all these guys. And this is why we're piggybacking a little bit on what happened yesterday when Brian Baldinger came up and he pointed that out. He's not Aaron Hernandez. Yeah, well, Bird Gang. You got to remember something. There's a difference between how Kirby runs his program and how Urban Meyer ran his. In 5 years that Urban Meyer, 5 years that Urban Meyer was at Florida, there were 37 arrests. You had 37 arrests to win those 2 national titles. Urban Meyer had 37 players arrested in Gainesville. So remember that. Now, Brian Baldinger was on yesterday with us. And before I bring Tony Siracusa in from the Last Word in Sports, I want to set this up for him. He made a comment about the Georgia program. He said it's a weird program in that there's so much rotating that goes on. Last year, Jordan Davis was out of shape. This year, Jalen Carter shows up at the combines. He can't even get through it. And me and Baldy were like, man, that's kind of wild, because now with the transfer portal, you have to promise playing time to players now. You can't just go like this to a 5-star kid. You play your junior year. Those kids are going to jump in the portal. They're not going to sit there at Georgia and wait for playing time. You got to almost practice this. Hey, you're going to play a lot your freshman year. Years ago when I played, you were kind of pinned into that program because you had to sit out. You couldn't just jump in that portal. Now you can. It's free agency. So let me get Tony Siracusa's comments in here, and we bring him in now here on the National Football Show. What'd you make of that, Tony? I appreciate you doing this, brother. Thanks for coming aboard. And he said this. He goes, that program is a little weird in the fact that they do so much rotating. There's not a lot of production on their lines when you look at – Jordan Davis had 9 sacks in 43 games. Okay? So, is there something to that some of these guys may not be pro-ready when they get in here when it comes to conditioning?
Yeah, thanks, Brother Dan. It's good to see you, man. I think that there is something to it. I think Georgia is a little bit of a unique situation in that you look and they had 15 players go to the NFL 2 years ago. They had 13 go this year. The Philadelphia Eagles don't need the rest of their scouts, right? You just need the guy who's going and hanging out down in Athens. But I think that there is a little bit more of a development that goes on at Georgia, that they're not coming necessarily pro-ready. They're getting the 3, 4, 5-star recruits, but there's a little bit more of a development. And as a result, you're not seeing Georgia as active in the transfer portal as you are a lot of other schools. They're getting a few guys in, they're losing a few guys, but it's not. No one's going to confuse Georgia with what's going on at Colorado or with Chip Kelly out at UCLA, who's taking 20 transfer kids every year. It is a different program, but it's working. It's Kirby. Look, Kirby Smart is doing what works for Kirby Smart. Would what he's doing work at LSU or A&M, or maybe not, but it's working for him at Georgia, and absolutely zero reason to change it, because if you look towards this year, they're going to be going into the season one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the country again.
All right. There's no question that. And again, I kind of compared him, Tony, to like Bob Knight. Bob Knight's 29 years. Do you remember anybody that they produced that went to the NBA that was a Hall of Famer outside of Isaiah Thomas?
No,
I don't.
No.
And so same thing you can even make with Coach K. I mean, Grant Hill, Kyrie Irving. Okay. I mean, it's how you recruit here. And when I look at Kirby's time, 55 guys have been drafted since he's been in Athens. I can only think of Nick Chubb and Roquan Smith that are all-star type players in the NFL at the next level. I mean, superstar players, Tony, not because there's a bunch of Georgia kids that are in there that are good players. I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying maybe we put too many expectations on those Georgia guys coming into the NFL because they're winning so much.
I don't know if we put too much expectations on them. If you manage the expectations, in other words, I think you just made the best point about it was, there are a handful of guys who are going to be all pro. The rest of them are just going to be really good. They're going to start. They're going to start for a lot of years. You're going to get, after this season, you're going to get Brock Bowers, the tight end, into the NFL. And there's no reason not to think that Bowers isn't going to have, a great 10-year career. And if that is the expectation, which to me is an appropriate expectation, a good, long, productive career, then I think they're producing just fine, because you can't ask everybody to produce the elite of the elites, no matter what they've done at the college level.
Tony, I think one thing that the portal has done, every single player that was drafted in this past April draft, you don't see the small schools and you don't see small school guys because of what I said. If you're a second or third team guy at Alabama or LSU, or even the guys that we're even looking at now for the 2024 potential draft, there's no small school like San Diego State. There's no Wyoming. There's none of that any longer because these guys are now being more spread out. Do you think that portal is good or bad for the college game?
I am in favor of the players having the freedom to go. I'd like to see some guardrails added to it. I think, and the NCAA is in the process of considering that we're going to take away, you can transfer as many times as you want, whenever you want. We're going to do one free transfer where you're free to go. And as long as you meet those deadlines, you're immediately eligible for the next season. We just saw the second transfer portal window close, and there were something like 1,400 players in there. And you and I know more than half of them are never going to find a home. They're going to be sitting in the portal the rest of the year unless they go to an FCS school or a G5 or even a D2 school. They're going to be sitting in there because they misjudged their own value. You get bent because you were the third running back in the rotation coming out of spring camp. Maybe there's a reason you're the third back, and maybe you needed to work harder. There's a lot of reasons. So I like the portal because I think players should have that ability to go once. I also do think grad transfers should be able to go as they wish. They've done what we asked them to do. They've gotten through school. They've gotten their degree. They're going to go to graduate school. They've done all the things we ask of the student athlete, if we can still use that phrase. But I want to see more guardrails put in that you can't, that we don't need JT Daniels and his fifth transfer.
Absolutely. All right. You mentioned Dion. Mm-hmm. What about the situation? Now, I said this and I tweeted this out. Well, Colorado did only win one game.
Yeah.
And I mean, all these guys are now transferring because Dion is putting the hammer down. And I got to tell you too, Tony, what's funny is I told Mario Cristobal last year on that Miami program, I said 68% of the players that are on that football team don't deserve to be wearing Miami Hurricane uniforms. And so he got rid of a bunch of guys too. Now, again, I've got my colors on here, so you know me, I'm going to be a little bit more jaded. And because I won a couple of those things back there, I'm going to be a little more jaded like that. So
sure you are.
Am I out of bounds here with how I think Dion and how Mario's looking at this?
No, look, I'm going to say this about Dion. He announced it before, the day he went there. He said, this is the new reality at Colorado. I had a conversation with some of the writers on my staff. They were talking about Jed Fish at Arizona and how it's a big rebuild there. And someone said, oh, it's worse than Colorado. No, it isn't, because they only won a few games last year at Arizona, but every game they lost was within one score. Colorado was getting blown out. They were losing by an average of 3 scores per game, and they were getting blown out. So it is a major rebuild. He said he was going to do it. Do I like the tact that he's done it with? Not really. Telling players you're being cut. That's not something we generally do in college football. We quietly, secretly push a guy out the door, right? We don't tell him to his face. We don't put our arm around him and say, brother, you're getting cut tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, there's no scholarship for you. We generally don't do that. So, but look, Dion is going to be Dion, and that's what Colorado hired him for. And they had 40,000 people at the spring game, and that's what Colorado is paying him for. Now, with what he's got in, the numbers are not balancing with what has gone out the door and what's come in. I don't know how he gets to 85 scholarship players for this year. I don't think he does. And I think at best they're 5-7, maybe 6-6. But with that kind of improvement over 1 year, Colorado's going to be happy.
Give me your assessment of the Penn State program. How do you think that program has been under the current stewardship and under the current direction right now? It seems that they wobble sometimes.
Yes.
They had a good year last year. They look like they got some talent. They look like they got some really good potential guys coming into the draft this next year, coming up here in 2024. Give me your overall assessment on the Penn State program.
I think that it is wobble is a good word, because I think they wobble from year to year. I think they're wildly inconsistent. You get some talent. James Franklin seems to do better with the mid-level to decent talent than he does with the premier talent. Maybe the expectations get too high, whatever it may be. Franklin managed to work it into, contract of all contracts for his life when they thought he was going to go. So Penn State is committed to him, at least for the next 2 to 3 years, because his buyout is so massive. But they're inconsistent from year to year. And, everything is there. Everything you need is there. The facilities are there. He's got everything at his disposal. But I think they've got talent again this year, but they don't have elite level talent, not Ohio State level talent, not even Michigan level talent. So therefore, I'm going to expect them to win, 8-9 games, minimum this year, because that seems to be what happens with him.
It looks like that program's never been the same since Paterno. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, sure, because they had to basically burn the village to rebuild it. Bill O'Brien did, a nice job, but didn't really stay long enough to have a lasting impact. So his footprint on it is minimal. It's Franklin's program. No one's going to really remember the Bill O'Brien era much. So it's Franklin's program at this point. And it's the Big Ten, that division. It's hard. It's difficult, but you need that 9 to 10 wins more regularly than what he's getting.
Tony, why do I see this coach's face when I think of Ryan Day, John Cooper? I mean, he has a ton of talent.
Yeah.
He has, their playoff team. But why do I not feel like Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer when I think of Ryan Day. I mean, well, I don't feel the same with him running the ship that I did with those other two guys. Am I wrong?
There's a lack of dominance that comes from that, and I think Ohio State people are still stinging from the Michigan game last year. He does have tremendous talent. Last year's team, that wide receiver group with C.J. Stroud, with Travion Henderson at the running back, was a tremendous offense. And the fact that they got pasted by Michigan is what the Ohio State fan remembers, right? They don't remember the win over Indiana or Wisconsin. I don't even remember their schedule last year, but you get my point. It's Ohio. When you're Ohio State, you live and die with the Michigan game, and they got pasted. They got pasted hard and at home. And so it was, there's that feeling, there's like a hangover kind of feeling that goes with it. And, it's crazy to say Ryan Day is under the gun or on some kind of hot seat. He's not. But there's not going to be a lot of tolerance for another end of the season outcome like that.
Two last questions for you. What are your expectations on Brian Kelly at LSU? I mean, we're looking at the back nine now on Nick Saban at Alabama. I'm not saying they're going to have a nosedive. I mean, I think Kirby's kind of out recruiting him, especially in the O and D lines. Agreed. So you're seeing Tennessee starting to come up a little bit more. Agreed. Florida looks like they've got talent as well. I mean, where does Brian Kelly fit in all this?
I mocked the hire when they made it. I'm not mocking it so much now. I think he's coaching well. He's recruiting well. He has made Jaden Daniels into a legitimate quarterback. This was a kid who at ASU was a good runner who, could throw the ball when needed. And he's a legit quarterback now. He's got Nussmeier there also. I mean, he's got a legit quarterback play there. He's got some recruiting he still needs to do. He's got some player, I don't want to say discipline, but player mentalities that he's got to work on. You look at what Kayshon Boutte got away with last year, just one of the complete busts of a season for a guy with so much talent. And, I put most of it on the player, but a little bit on the coach for not reaching through to him better. But I think that there's a door open for LSU and for Kelly. They've got the good quarterback play, and it's coming up in a season when Alabama's got to replace Bryce Young, and you don't know what you're going to replace him with. I mean, Tyler Buckner coming down from Notre Dame. I mean, the kid threw 3 touchdown passes and 4 pick sixes last year. I hope for Alabama's sake, he's not your savior. I know they got Jalen Milroe also, and maybe there's something there. You got Georgia, who never in a million years did we think we'd ever say, wow, they got to replace Stetson Bennett. That's tough. But there's an opening. There's a little bit of a window there for Kelly and LSU to really jump up some slots. And I think he's doing a decent job down there. I thought it was a poor fit at first, but I'm here to say I could be wrong.
Oh, y'all there in Baton Rouge. I was from New Hampshire. I mean, where did he get that? This guy knows maple syrup. He don't know.
Right.
I mean, come on now, dog. I mean, finally here.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong on Notre Dame here when I make this assessment. And one of the reasons why Brian Kelly left, they're never going to win at the level that they used to win. The only reason they won that national title was because of that old, what was that Prop 46 thing that they had where they took kids who were non-qualifiers.
Yeah, the Prop 48 where they were partial Prop 48, qualifiers.
Right? They took kids like Jerome Bettis and Waters and all those guys. Sure. The requirements are too hard. They don't really redshirt. And again, to me, it's almost like the Cowboys, Tony. It's like all shine and no substance at times, especially when they get into the big games. I mean, has Notre Dame, do they need to figure out if football is important to them or not? Because just showing up and winning 10 games and beating Navy, I'm not sure that's cutting it any longer, is it?
Probably not. You need to be more competitive at the national level. We'll see what happens now that we're going to get 12 playoff teams starting, next year, and they'll likely be a regular in there. And so you never know what happens. I think there are a couple things. One, I do agree, and I said at the time that he left because he did all he could do at Notre Dame within the confines of the structure that exists there. You could get players in at LSU that you can't even allow onto a visit for Notre Dame.
Correct.
You can't even give them a sideline pass. And so he did what he could. NIL, Notre Dame is also not a significant player in NIL. They don't like it. There is an NIL collective, and I'm going to criticize myself now because I always swore I would not mix NIL and collectives. They're totally different things. Collectives are legalized money laundering, but there is a collective there. But they don't have tons of money. There was a rumor when Sam Hartman went there that he was getting $2 million. We've confirmed absolutely not even remotely close. He's getting a little over $1 million. You look at, they had Michael Meyer, the second best tight end in school history last year, behind Dave Casper, and he only made $800,000. There was no way they were giving Hartman that kind of money. It's a good program. It's not a great program. It's not historic level program. It's not, circle Notre Dame on your calendar every year. Although I will say Wake Forest minus Sam Hartman has to go and play in South Bend with Sam Hartman this year. So that'll be fun. But I agree. It's Notre Dame is still that place. And when you go there for a game, it's still that place. But the production on the field isn't matching all the bells and whistles.
I want to sneak one more in on you.
Sure.
Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think what Jim Harbaugh has done actually even rivals what Schembechler did at Michigan in this aspect? I mean, Michigan is not a national power. They haven't won a national championship in 80 years, and they won half of one at best. I mean, even during the Bo Schembechler era, I think he finished second twice. Mm-hmm. And because of the rivalry, Woody won 5 times.
Sure.
I mean, don't you think what he's done and the expectations that people look at that Michigan program and go, hey, how come they're not doing this and that? Well, actually, they are doing more than what even Bo did. I mean, and yet he gets criticized because the comparison is Ohio State. Give me your take on Michigan, because, again, I'm Tony, like 78 years they haven't won a full national title. I mean, it's not really they're not fighting for national championships every year.
No, they're not. And look, I think you hit on a good point going back, because I grew up in that same era, the Woody, versus Bo, the 10-year war.
And I loved it.
Oh my gosh, it was the best, right? But a couple of things real quickly. It was a smaller landscape for college football, right? You didn't have teams like Cincinnati or TCU or, any of the smaller schools as competitive then. So it was a smaller landscape to work in. The Woody versus Bo made Bo what he was. In other words, Woody won more than Bo did, but that battle between the two of them was something that the nation latched onto. Certainly the two schools latched onto. So it elevated both of them to a whole different level. There isn't that with, no one's talking about the war with Ryan Day and Jim Harbaugh, right? Or Urban Meyer, and it didn't exist. And Harbaugh is always going to be that curiosity factor. It was 2 days ago, he did an interview where he talked about he goes out and wants to recruit guys who like to mow the lawn. And you're like, what are you talking about? But that's vintage Harbaugh, right? I mean, he does weird things. And I guarantee Harbaugh mows his own lawn, and it's probably one of those old roto blade ones that you got to push, and he does it with no shirt on because that's who he is. And his point was, I want players who have time and quiet to think and be pensive and consider their life. Great, whatever. But he makes it a bit of a strange element. And so then when he doesn't win, then there's a lot more, he's an easy target. If he's not competitive at the top of the conference and for a playoff spot, then he's an easy target because he goes out there and does some completely random things.
Tell the folks how they can find you and all your great work that all you guys do there. I really love your stuff. I read it a lot, and I appreciate you a lot.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's lastwordoncollegefootball.com. That's the website. We've got we just hired a couple new writers, so we're expanding our coverage, which we're proud of. I wish other sites well that haven't been able to maintain the coverage. We're growing. And so we've also got a Facebook page. We're on Twitter at Last Word on CFB. And even though I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina now, I am still at Tony Bruin on Twitter. I didn't change it.
Yeah. Tony, thank you so much for joining us. Had a fun time. I love college football. I can't wait for the start of the season. Thank you, my friend.
Always glad to do it, Brother Dan. Be well.
You got it. That is our friend Tony Siracusa again. Last word in college sports there too, and last word in sports. We appreciate him doing that very much. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
This is Governor Ed Rendell urging you to vote for my friend Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court. I appointed Judge Dugan in 2007 to the Philadelphia Municipal Court, where he now serves as its president judge. Pat is a proud Army veteran of 23 years. He served 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's also recommended by the Philadelphia Bar Association. But most importantly, he bleeds Eagles green and hates those Dallas Cowboys. So get out and vote for number 3, Judge Pat Dugan for Superior Court.
Paid for by Dugan 2023.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Tilt! I wish you guys that love pro football love college football as much as I do. See, when you're in big city, hey, growing up in the Northeast, college football wasn't big unless it was Penn State, Notre Dame. My folks loved Notre Dame. They loved Notre Dame. And they loved Penn State. I've told some of you guys the story about my recruiting to Penn State. I actually had Jerry Sandusky in my house. Okay? He came and recruited me. Hey, for the record, Jerry Sandusky was considered one of the greatest defensive coordinators in the history of college football. That's a fact. That was an absolute fact. And Yale, hang on. So let me tell you, I think I've told you this story before. So I'm getting recruited at Stanford Catholic. And again, you got to remember something about Catholic High. I played with, I think during even my time, I played with 4 pro football players. And we only had 33 guys on our high school football roster. And we were all recruited. So, I mean, I had 4 guys I played with went to the NFL. So it was a legendary program. Robustelli's kids played on it. I think his son even got an opportunity to play with the Chargers back in the late 60s, whatever. Anyway. Hey, do you guys remember do you guys remember a guy named Bennett Salvador? He was an official in the NBA. Do you remember he was an official? Bennett Salvador, do you remember that name? Some of you may, some of you may not. He was like an all-state quarterback at my high school back in the day. I mean, I think he won the state championship too. So anyway, so I'm getting recruited, and all the places used to stop by our college all the time, or our high school all the time. I see this little tiny guy walking. I go, Tony Brown, God rest his soul, goes like this. He goes, "Hey man, I think that's your Uncle Bucky." I said, "I think it is my Uncle Bucky." Turned out to be Joe Paterno. I'm like, holy shit, Joe Paterno looks like my Uncle Bucky. He comes walking in, he's recruiting me, and here was my dumb comments to Joe Paterno. By the way, Paterno and I, at the end, man, I got to tell you, I'm a Paterno fan. I'll always be. I know it ended horrifically, and I'm not making excuses. But he goes like this. He goes, hey, man, it'd be cool to have you come play at Penn State. And I'm like, I don't know, man, black shoes that make you look slow. And he goes, black shoes? I go, yeah, the black shoes make you look slow and you don't put your name on the back of the jersey. He goes, that's what you're concerned about? And I go like this. I go, well, I mean, I like my folks to see my name on the back of my jersey and the black shoes, man. I don't know. I don't want to wear black shoes. He goes, well, that's a trademark to our program. And I go like this. I go, I don't know, man. Then he looked at my transcripts. He goes, well, shit, you're no student. And I went, well, coach, if you think I'm going to come to Penn State to be a molecular engineer, that's not working for me. What do you think? I'm Mike Missinelli? Yeah, that ain't working for me, dude. Mike Missinelli wanted to go to Penn State to be educated. Great. Okay. Super. Wonderful. Hey, you want to be an accountant or talk show host? That's great. Okay. Wonderful. But me, man, I was like, dude, I'm coming to play football. I'm not coming to anything else. And he goes, well, you have to go to school here. And I'm like, coach, school's the furthest thing on my list. I just want to be upfront with you. He goes, you're the only guy that's ever said that. At least it's honest. So we played in the Fiesta Bowl. And I've told you guys this. Some of you know it. I'm sitting in the airport. This guy puts his arm around my shoulder. I look up. It's him. I go, shit. I played so good in that game too, man. He looked at me and he goes, you and Brown are the best defensive tackles I've seen in my entire coaching career. Millen and Clark, you guys are better. I said, shit, man. Telling me after you beat us. It was my birthday, too. It was the day after the title game. He's giving me these compliments. He said some really great shit about me, though, in like the spring college football All-American dinner and shit like that. He was like, this kid's going to be a superstar player. He's a superstar player anyway. And I'm going like this. So I have to fly back to New York. And Joe Paterno's sitting next to me, the guy who beat me the night before. And I'm going like this, son of a bitch. And he goes, I remember recruiting you now. I go, yeah, Jerry Sandusky came to the house, and my grandpa liked him. And my grandfather goes, hey, this guy Paterno reminds me of your Uncle Bucky. You might want to go because, he starts laughing. And I go, yeah, my grandfather wanted me to hang with my own. He goes, what's that mean? He goes, yeah, he said Italian coach. He wanted me to hang with my own. And he goes like this. Well, he was right. I go, yeah, don't forget, Foge Fazio ran Pitt. He was also part of us. He goes, Foge is, or was. God rest his soul too, man. So I had two Italian guys recruiting me, Foge Fazio and Joe Paterno. Yeah. Hey, man, unbelievable. I know how things work and how things look, man. A year's removed from all that shit with Sandusky, but, man, Joe Pa got caught in a shitstorm for sure. Anyway, that's for a different show. Thank you guys so much. Ice Cube tomorrow, 5:30 Eastern. We look forward to talking with him, catching up with our friend. Thank you so much. Xander, thank you. Big Joe, thank you. Tone, once again, brother, keep up the fabulous work. We so appreciate everything you do. Till tomorrow, 3 to 6 Eastern. See you on the flip side.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.